Hello everyone. So today I'm going to be going over how to model enemies' behaviors and to turn them into a threat to your forces. As we know, on their own, there's very little that the enemy will do unless directed to, so we're going to cover a little bit of that today. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make two sides. And I'm going to set them to be hostile. Florida just has a ton of military bases, so they're good to use for this. Alright, so we want to model the enemy to defend their airbase of Eglin. So there's a few ways we could do this. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set up a patrol route. And I'm going to go over the mission editor here, create a new mission, and I'll call this AWACS, and it's a support mission. So now if we move this out of the way, you'll see that a mission has been set up to patrol from here to here. So a few things to go over here. This mission is active. And we have 1/3 of the aircraft in the mission in the air. I'm going to take this away for this, and I'm going to go to 1. You can set this to be a one-time only mission. You can tell them to hold their missions until they're on station. And I can give an example of that in a little bit. Flight size, single aircraft, tankers, so there's a bunch of settings you can set. Basically, you could have this one aircraft remain on station forever with a tanker. Then the reference points that the mission uses. You can add or remove. And then the speed it's in. Then all the stuff we talked about with Doctrine before, we have that here now. And then, in addition to that support mission, I am going to give a combat air patrol. So we're going to call this next mission Op for CAP. So it'll be a patrol and an AAW patrol. Then I'm going to assign another mission. Intercept. And this is going to be a strike called an air intercept. So the plan is, I'm always going to have something in the air between this area, this area, this area, and this area, and it will always patrol. I will always have an AWACS here, and then I'll have a third element which, upon realizing that the base is under attack, attacks the area. Now, one of the things I'm going to assign for this intercept mission is I'm going to say that they're only going to take off when the enemy is 50 nautical miles away. If you're thinking that's too close, you're right, but there's a reason I'm setting this. So now I'm going to give some forces here. So we need an E3G Sentry. I'm only going to give them one for this mission. It'll be up most of the time. I'm going to give them some F-15Cs. I'm going to give them 24 F-15Cs, and I'm going to give them 24 F-16 Block 52s. I guess that's the latest one. So the first thing we're going to do is ready these aircraft. Assign them to a mission. So the F-15Cs I'm going to put on a patrol. They have a longer range and they have BVR capabilities that exceed that of the F-16. I should probably set them unlimited ammo. Yep. Now the F-16s, I'm going to set them to that Intercept mission I talked about. And I'm only going to give them sidewinders. The reason for this is I just want them to take off when the enemy starts approaching and shoot them down with sidewinders, which are really nasty up close, but very short range. It's also important to note that if you attack with MiG-21s, say against F-16s or F-15s, you have a fighting chance if you take off and begin the engagement in weapons range. Now, yeah, you're still probably going to lose, but you will take out more of them with you. So I've got 48 fighter aircraft here, and I've got an airborne early warning aircraft. So now I'm going to have to model a force to go after the airbase that they're on. So let's give them Super Hornets instead. That would be a little bit better. But I'm going to give 24 Super Hornets. I'm also going to give an AWACS aircraft of my own. Now, I don't expect this strike to succeed, but the point is to demonstrate this stuff, so what better way than to try to attack them. So I've got 12 and 12 strike aircraft. Now I expect this completely to be shut down. And let me just make sure a few things are set before I begin the attack. Okay, so the AWACS mission is a support mission. By default, MCOM is set to passive. And an AWACS with passive MCOM is not doing its damn job. Now, I will be in range immediately. I want to scramble these aircraft ASAP. Now, another thing which a lot of people do, and there's no reason I shouldn't do it, I'm going to create a support mission called Rally Point. And I'm going to turn the radar on. So I already have them launching as a group, and they're all going to head to this location here. And now I'm going to demonstrate active emissions only when on station. So let's just say that I wanted them to sneak to this area. I could set them to travel at, say, 300 feet above ground level, and I could set them to have passive emissions until they get to this point. I don't want that, however. I just want them to get in the air. Oh, I almost forgot this guy. I also want him ready. And he's going to launch individually. And this guy is just going to do his pattern. And that's it. And let's turn that off because we do not need God's eye view for this. So, we have our JSOW armed aircraft, and our goal is to get them to this base to drop off their bombs. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to send in my fighters. Second thing I'm going to do, now, if this were an actual scenario that I were doing, I would take great care to ensure that I targeted the right structures with the right munitions, but cluster bombs across everything sounds fine to me right now. So like I said, my goal is to get these aircraft there, so the fighters are going to go ahead and do a sweep. Now we could see that because we assigned these enemies here, who have just been identified, because we have these guys airborne, they are able to respond to our forces. Now we have more fighters airborne, but they're going to charge off ahead. Now, maybe we don't want that, and we'll cover how we can make this a little bit more intelligent as well, but for now we're just going to let this play out. You, get over there. Attack already. Not sure what he's waiting for. So I'm going to send these guys ahead full afterburner. They are going to dump their missiles first. Another trick I've found is What we want to do is travel at a diagonal towards the enemy, and the reason for that is we don't want to speed up the rate we're closing with them. Now, in particular, this works very well if you have a range advantage over the enemy's missiles. Unfortunately, they're going to be shooting AMRAAMs right back at us in this case. But the closer we get, the less likely, the closer we get, the less likely that we are to kinetically defeat their missiles. Now, this guy's out of missiles and has enough fuel to get back on full afterburner, so I'm setting him to go right after them, full afterburner. Now, sometimes what you want to do is wait for these AMRAAM to at least get to the end of this line, but since there's other radars, I do believe that they know where everything is and are able to guide the AMRAAMs onto the target. But if you only had one fighter squadron, you would still want to have everything in this radar cone. Otherwise, the missiles would not turn on their radars and actually see anything. With guidance, these missiles will go to the right spot, and once they get here, they'll turn on their radar cones and see their targets. If that makes sense. So there's that's the radar cone I was talking about. That activates when the missile reaches its last waypoint. Then it turns on and homes in towards the target. And it's at this point that the missile no longer needs any sort of guidance. So a radar lock absolutely needs to be maintained to get the missile to that point. Now, the advanced Super Hornet does have an advantage over the traditional fourth generation fighters like the Eagle. Let me see if I could find it. Should be under admissions or something to that effect. So from the front, these are the values that it has for detection for certain radar bands, 4.4 and 1.4. If we look at an F-15, however, we could see that the F-15's radar, or the emissions that it will see to radar, are significantly larger. So Super Hornets should, in most cases, detect first and shoot first, but not always. But yes, I chose them for that reason. Although there are ways that we will cover probably in a later episode of how the enemy can just determine that hostile aircraft are bearing down on them, and they will shoot first and ask questions later. Just automatically assign them to be hostile. These guys, I just want him to deal with them. And I want these aircraft to make it safely to their destination here. It's not looking hopeful for all of them. But again, other thing that the Super Hornets do have is superior countermeasures. The Eagle's much older. There's one Super Hornet. There goes another. But just wait, more Eagles will take off soon, if they haven't already. Oof. So let's speed this up and see what happens here. And now some more F-15Cs are taking off to intercept. Now everyone knows that these guys are hostile. This guy's being shot at, so I'm going to run away at full afterburner. Now let's take a look at what we've got left. This guy needs to engage ASAP. These guys only have 2 AMRAAM left, 2 AMRAAM left. Yeah, these guys are going to get mauled before they get there. Alright, so I had demonstrated how to model the enemy's behavior. Unfortunately, we didn't push quite into them far enough with what we had to... Why was that guy there? Well, that didn't help. So now, this time I will show the enemy being on the offensive and what that looks like. Actually, let's model the OPFOR first. Okay, so we've got 24 F-16s. Going to set half to air, the other half to ground. And I'm going to set a patrol route for them. Actually, no. Well, yes. So I'm going to do an AAW sweep and an ASUW sweep. And I'm going to make the Blue Force have let's give it a Ford. So we're just going to give our forces a Ford, unescorted. I'm going to give them a squadron of F-18Es. So as I said, what both of these missions will do is take off and do a sweep into this area and engage the respective targets. So if I wanted it to continually do this, we could set 1/3. I do not want that. I want it to just push straight in with all forces. So all 12 anti-air and all 12 anti-ground aircraft will take off and attack. So they should see the carrier and run to identify the carrier. So let's play this out. Let's see it from the op force perspective first. So they see a ship. They're going to immediately scramble to identify it. Now we see hostiles coming. We are going to attempt to intercept them. And I'm going to do so at full afterburner. I want to take something out. We need to scramble more fighters because that's a lot of stuff coming in. I'm going to speed it up just a little bit. So let's see what the enemy sees here. So the enemy sees an enemy carrier. They're going to get into weapons range shortly. Start firing missiles at it. We're going to try to throw more missiles at them. And now our carrier is saying, time for these missiles to die. There goes some ESSMs. That guy out of there, full afterburner. Now it looks like we are out of AMRAAM. So these aircraft would be sitting ducks if they press the attack, but oh, there goes a loss. Looks like more weapons incoming, and our Gerald R. Ford is out of ESSMs. Now, of course, this is why oh no, they're going to pick on them while they're landing. Wow. Okay, so I think that demonstrated it just a little bit. There are other types of patrols, and we will talk about them as well now. So let's make another scenario. So for the Op4 side, I am going to give them a Patriot battery. And I'm going to give them an airbase again. Now the Patriot's got a directional radar. So what I'm going to have to do is set its speed to stop and set its direction that way. So it will start facing that way, but it won't move. Now I'm going to give Eglin I'm going to give them a squadron of F-16Cs. Or the F-16 Block 52s. So my goal is to have a combat air patrol around the base and an air intercept mission. That's an annoying bug. It seems to switch back to the Blue Force side. I'm not sure why. Oh, mission editor, yep. Okay, so the idea is that these forces will patrol, these forces will intercept. And the Patriot battery will, by default, because it's a surface-to-air missile, shoot down aircraft. If we look now at what we're going to do, 150 miles out, I'm going to put a carrier. And a Burke. So we've got a Flight 3 Burke and a carrier. Radar's on. Going to set AWACS mission. And I'm going to set a strike. So I'm going to load this up with Tomahawks. I'm going to give it I'm going to give it half of its air wing. Alright, so half of its air wing will be used for this operation, which will be 8 aircraft armed with AMRAAM, 8 aircraft armed with joint standoff weapons, and 8 aircraft armed with ARGMs. They're basically advanced harm type missiles. And all of these aircraft are going to be dedicated to the same mission as well as the Arleigh Burke. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get Eglin selected here so we see it. Now we're going to do strike. And we're going to make a land strike mission. And Eglin is going to be the target. So if I assign this Burke, I assign these as escorts, going to assign the seed aircraft as escorts, and I'm going to assign the JSOWs to the strike mission as well. One other thing I want to assign as an escort. Just assign 2 EA-18Gs. Oh, and I forgot the AWACS aircraft. Alright, so I set it up where 27 aircraft will take off for this attack. So pretty big attack on the space, and also an Arleigh Burke class destroyer is going to wreck. I'm not going to target the runway, I'm going to target all of the hangar spaces. So these are the targets. All of these weather shelters, all of these hangar spaces. Now, if we go back to mission doctrine, like I said before, for the AWACS mission, we want to set the radar to on. And then for the strike mission, what we want to set, there are two doctrines. One is for the mission, which is just the bomber aircraft. And the other is the escort doctrine. And in this case, we're going to turn on offensive ECM. Now, with time and all that other stuff, you could set time on target attacks this way. If you wanted to do the math and see how long it takes for, say, a Tomahawk to reach here, you could time out how long the mission would take and have a separate mission to guide in the Tomahawks if you wanted to. But let's just launch this as is. Actually, first let me just make sure the enemy side is set to do its thing. Looks like it. Alright. So there goes the Burke. Damn, this thing can launch those Tomahawks fast. These poor bastards don't know what's coming in towards them yet. So a lot of these Tomahawks are going to be intercepted. But a lot of them are going to hit. So this formation of aircraft now has gotten close. So our harm-armed seed aircraft are going to engage the Patriot battery. The aircraft that are armed with JSOWs are going to start attacking as soon as they're in range. And the escort aircraft armed with anti-air weapons will start just engaging as well. And of course the jam aircraft, it's going to be present and it's just going to jam. An awful lot of these F-16s have shot down tons of missiles. But here comes the strike package delivering their ordnance. And there are just too many of those harms going in, so that's taken out. And these aircraft are all on their way back now since they've dropped their payload off. Not sure why these guys are still here. I highly doubt that Patriot battery is still a threat. Alright, so that covers the strike mission. I'll go to Syria to do the seed mission. So if we go to Syria, I'm just going to do an import of the air defense missions, or the air defenses. And, oops. And I'll turn on their radars. Which, by the way, if you want to mess around with Lua, you can do all sorts of things like turn off radars, turn on radars, and make it so that it's very difficult to Cyprus. Don't want to wait for forces to come over from the US. That would be madness. So what we're going to do this time is we're going to make a seed mission. So if we make a seed patrol, what this will do is assign these aircraft armed with ARGMs and JSOWs. Oh, I'm sorry. One thing I should also mention, there's two types of seed missions, really. So, it says here, loadout rule. DEAD is destruction of enemy air defense, and SEAD is suppression of enemy air defense. So, generally speaking, if you look at the difference between an ARGM and, say, a JSOW, we've got a high-speed missile that is designed to smash into a target, and then you have a 143-pound warhead. Then if we look at a JSOW, we see these are dual-purpose, 145 bomblets, so a much larger, much more dangerous warhead, but when you combine the two, you're suppressing their air defense at the same time you're destroying it. So a lot of times you'll see the seed type missions take a very long time to actually destroy an enemy air defense. Oh, one other thing I should probably remember to do, set this to 0 so they all just take off and sweep through. I'm actually going to watch this as an observer because it's going to the observer is going to be neutral to the US and unfriendly to Syria. So the purpose of a seed patrol is that the aircraft will run around over the land or sea area you want them to and destroy enemy air defenses, or at least suppress them depending on their loadout. Okay, so I think you get the point there. But while we're at it, I can't help but say that the best way to Turkey, just find an airport that's out of the way, that'll work. The best way to clear out air defenses is a nuke. So we're going to change the mission doctrine to granted use nuclear weapons, and we're going to give these guys a nuke loadout. ALCM, there it is. So all these guys returning, and B-52s will take care of the rest. So let's watch it. At least I hope they do. Yep, they're firing their cruise missiles. Now, of course, if you had that many nukes at your disposal, you would probably decide to use them on more intelligent things than what I'm shooting at, but hey. I'm not sure what's going on here. And I have no idea why these guys are flying over. I would never assign nukes to a mission like that anyway, but if I did, I would never have my bombers flying like that. I'm surprised they haven't been shot down yet. Also want to add, with jamming aircraft, there's very little chance that these cruise missiles would be shot down, I think. That's an interesting bug. Also, of course, if you didn't fly your cruise missiles over every single thing and you punched a hole using them, you'd be less likely to have this happen too. But, oh well. Note to self, if I ever do that sort of a thing again, I would have them take off from a much more distant airbase so they'd unload on closer targets first. Okay, so I think we covered most of the mission types except for anti-submarine warfare. I'm actually going to do that in a later video since I've been rambling for over an hour now, which is long enough. Alright, have a good one, guys. I will upload this and I will hopefully get down to making the ASW mission guides. And I want to go over a few things for fleet operations that I found useful, including having a reference point to follow certain ships, and also to the formation editor. Alright, I'll see you next time.